screen. And go back to our PowerPoints. All right, so now today's agenda, we've done our introductions. I'm going to go over the timeline real quickly for applications. We're going to talk about how to do that application in the grant management system. We're going to talk briefly about the grant project summary form and the budget workbook, and we're going to talk about the advanced guidance document and a little bit about that as well. So I am going to record this. So, all right, so let me just keep going here. So the timeline, notice of funds available was released on March 19th. Due date for applications is April 17th by midnight. Grant application documents will be reviewed by staff in April and May. And any document revisions that are requested by your grant manager, we ask that you get those back really quickly. Grants will be awarded in June or July. Depends on how soon we get through APA reviews and approve the advance package and all that. If we can get it to the public meeting in June, we will. If not, it'll go in July. But that won't impact when you can start incurring expenses for RLC40 in any case. So you'll still be able to begin incurring expenses on July 1st, 2025. And just as a reminder, if you're applying for an advance, all the advance packages have to go together as one package to the Department of Finance. And so if anybody doesn't do a good job on that and we have to do a bunch of revisions, then it slows down the whole package approval process. So it's important that you really fine-tune that advance package for us. Okay, so the grant management system is where you're submitting your application just as usual. Please review the guidelines and instructions carefully before you begin your application. Make sure you give everyone access who needs access. This year, all of your previous contacts from RLC39 have been imported into RLC40, and they have all been granted access to the RLC40 grant application. So they will be able to see it if they log in. So whoever is in there currently has access. If you need to add a new contact, you'll have to give them access, and I'll show you that in a little bit. There are 4 instructional videos on how to use GMS online, and there is a link in this presentation that you can link to get there. One piece of information that I will give everybody now is that there is a new database system being developed at CalRecycle. It's been under development for 2 or 3 years now, and it's a huge project that we've been working on, and GMS will be integrated into that new system. We anticipate that will launch in November 2025. So there will be training for grantees on how to use the new system. It will operate, our plan, our goal, and our expectation is that it will operate like GMS, but better. And so we've been digging in with, we've got very professional organizations external to CalRecycle helping us build this system. It's going to be Salesforce based with another back-end program running it. So it's going to look different, but we will be providing training and support as we ramp up to go live with that system. We're not there yet. We're still in the development process, but the timeline is November 2025 to roll out GMS as part of the first systems that roll out. So more to come on that, but just so you know, that's coming. Okay, so I am going to end the slideshow for now. I can do that if I can. All right. And I'm going to jump to GMS and I'm going to emulate. Okay, so the grant management system is where you're submitting your application just as usual. Please review the guidelines and instructions carefully before you begin your application. Make sure you give everyone access who needs access. This year, all of your previous contacts from RLC39 have been imported into RLC40, and they have all been granted access to the RLC40 grant application. So they will be able to see it if they log in. So whoever is in there currently has access. If you need to add a new contact, you'll have to give them access, and I'll show you that in a little bit. There are 4 instructional videos on how to use GMS online, and there is a link in this presentation that you can link to get there. One piece of information that I will give everybody now is that there is a new database system being developed at CalRecycle. It's been under development for 2 or 3 years now, and it's a huge project that we've been working on, and GMS will be integrated into that new system. We anticipate that will launch in November 2025. So there will be training for grantees on how to use the new system. It will operate, our plan, our goal, and our expectation is that it will operate like GMS, but better. And so we've been digging in with, we've got very professional organizations external to CalRecycle helping us build this system. It's going to be Salesforce based with another backend program running it. So it's going to look different, but we will be providing training and support as we ramp up to go live with that system. We're not there yet. We're still in the development process, but the timeline is November 2025 to roll out GMS as part of the first systems that roll out. So more to come on that, but just so you know, that's coming. Okay, so I am going to end the slideshow for now. I can do that if I can. All right. And I'm going to jump to GMS and I'm going to emulate. And emulate Brian Hickey in the system. And again, he did give me permission to do this, so it's not like I'm coming in uninvited to a Signal chat or something. Let me see. And emulate Brian Hickey in the system. And again, he did give me permission to do this, so it's not like I'm coming in uninvited to a Signal chat or something. Let me see. Okay, so we're now in the system as you will see it as a grantee. So when you log in, this is kind of landing page for you. This is your home page. So what you want to look for is this. Zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. Right at the top is My Active Grant Applications. Your grant is already pre-entered for you in here. So you don't have to start your own application. So please don't start a new application. Find the one that we've built for you and then click Application to go in and start editing. Now, I'll back off this a little bit so you can see the whole page first. This is the first tab that you're going to see in your application called the Summary tab. And this has a lot of good information and resources for you in here. So on the left here is your application information. You can see the status is unsubmitted, and you can see the cycle name and the cycle code and the grant ID number, all of that information there. There are resource links here for you. So the home page for the local core grant program is here. The NOFA page, the Notice of Funds Available web page is here. That has links to your procedures and requirements, terms and conditions, guidelines and instructions. Is all there too. The resolution and letter examples are also linked here. So if you need an example of a letter of commitment or a board resolution, you can grab those from here. Below that is resource documents for RLC40. You'll see that the advanced request guidance document is here. And then also you can link here to your grant agreement docs and the guidelines and instructions. So you got two ways to get to those if you need them. Application documents are also uploaded here for you to download. So the budget workbook is here, and the grant project summary document is also here. So you can download those from here. Okay. Application detail report. This is something you're going to do. You can look at if you want to. It's a report about what you've entered after you finish. On the right side, your application checklist. This is going to automatically update as you complete the different parts. You can see some are green already, and that's because we've pre-entered your contacts, signature authority, all of that. So please, you'll review those. I'll show you where in a minute, but you may have to update that information. This again is uploaded from RLC39. So just so you know. And I've got to admit somebody. Okay. Now, the next down here is required documents by application due date. So you've got an app certification. You're going to do that very last. I'll show you where in just a minute. So these required documents need to be uploaded by April 17th. So your certification, your budget, cost allocation plan, or federal indirect cost rate. I'll remind everybody that if you are using an FICR, make sure that it's valid, still valid. We take a look at the dates. If it's out of date, we're going to have to come back to you and ask for an updated FICR. And I understand that sometimes they give you kind of a provisional one until it's finalized. That's fine too, but we need to have a current one on file. Grant project summary is required. Letter of designation is not required. It is optional. If your signature authority is given permission in the resolution to designate somebody else to sign for them and you want to do that, that's great. Just provide a letter that designates that person. And it's better to do it by title than by name, so that if people change during the year, that you don't have to submit a new one. And of course, a resolution or letter of commitment is a requirement. So other supporting documents, if applicable, advance payment justification, advance payment supporting documents. And we'll go over those a little bit. After you're finished with everything, when everything that's required and everything in the checklist is green, then this is going to light up. You can see this button is grayed out right now. Print application certification is what it says if you can't read that. And this submit button is going to light up too. You can see that's grayed out. It's not clickable yet because everything required isn't entered. So if you're having trouble submitting when you think you're done, if this is still grayed out, then you need to go back up here and see if there's any red items here. If everything's green and it still won't click, then you'll reach out to CalRecycle, and I'll tell you who specifically here at the end. Okay, so that's Summary tab. A lot of information, a lot of resources there for you. So this is about you. It should show you as the participant, your organization. And if you click on that, you want to go in here, make sure your federal tax ID is correct, and that all of this other information is appropriate. And if not, then you click Edit, and you can edit the information. The Detail tab is likewise editable. And so you're going to put in the total grant funds requested. I have asked my contact in fiscal process oversight, Dimitri, asked him this morning, and I'm just looking at an email really quick. It does allow them to edit. Let's see how they can do it. Okay, good. So you all received an email from me with updated budget amounts. I believe it came a day after the original NOFA email went out to you. Those budget amounts are probably not reflected in, or not probably, they're not reflected in here, I don't believe. So it looks like Brian might have updated his, but if you haven't updated it, then when these were created, San Francisco was still calculated into the distribution. They are no longer calculated into the distribution, and the numbers that I sent out in my follow-up email are the correct ones that you should be using now. So you will need to edit this page and put in the correct total grant funds requested here, and then we'll also be editing the budget page when we get there. So aside from this, hopefully you don't need to make any changes. One thing I want to point out, well, of course you want to make sure if you've moved your office where you're located, you want to change that here, if that changed from 39. The project summary should be a succinct statement of what you intend to do. Remember that this might be used by CalRecycle Office of Public Affairs in publications. So you want it to be descriptive enough that it would describe your grant project. But generally, we try to limit those to about 600 characters. So, be brief. It doesn't have to be a novel. Now, one thing that's not checked for Civicor, because they generally don't take an advance, is the request advance payments. If you plan to take an advance in RLC40, then you need to click Edit and you need to check mark that box. Okay. That is the Detail tab. And you can edit I don't think any assembly districts or Senate districts were redistricted, but if they were, you might need to edit your districts. So double check that. Okay, your contacts. Again, these are rolled forward from RLC39. So if nobody's changed, then they're probably still correct, but you want to make sure that they are. So you want to identify who your primary contact is, who the secondary contacts are, one or more, your authorized signatories should be marked in here, and those are the people that are either authorized by resolution or by letter of designation. If you have any consultants that you're giving access to GMS on, I don't believe any cores do, but just in case. Now, the primary person has the ability in GMS to add contacts. So if you need to add a contact, then Brian can go in here and add a contact. And there's a video on our GMS website that goes step by step on how to add contacts in GMS. And this button over here is where you would do that. But if you have trouble doing that, let us know, because our grant managers can also help you with that. And you can also delete contacts. If somebody is in here that doesn't need to be anymore, you can click on that and it will give you, so if I click on Tessa, it'll give me a window and all of Tessa's information, and I can click delete if Tessa's no longer needs access to the grant in GMS. Okay, and then it keeps your deleted contacts as well. You can see here there's a show deleted check mark. So if I check that and there are any deleted ones, they would pop into this list. All right. Budget tab. Again, this is where you're going to be entering the new numbers for your budget. Now, because I'm emulating, I don't have the ability to edit anything in here, and so I can't show you exactly how to do that. But there should be an editing button here for you to edit these amounts. So you're going to click on beverage container, you're going to edit, and you're going to enter the correct amount from that second email I sent you with all those revised budget numbers. And you're going to do that for each of the material funds. So in the end, this total should match the total that populates here that you entered back, I believe. Nope, detail tab. Yeah, this grant funds requested. That'll populate up here. Okay, so remember, if you want your full budget anyway, you've got to revise these numbers. And then documents are where you're going to add documents. And again, you can see over here the required documents list. So as you add a document and you click add document, it'll give you this window. You can give it a title, give it a descriptive title that makes sense. And then as you select these titles for the document types, and you upload, then it'll turn these little check marks green for you. Okay, so that is GMS. I'm going to pause. Anybody have a question? If you want to ask, please unmute and I'll answer any questions on GMS.
Derek?
Yes.
It's Jim. On the budget edits, is this section the one, like in the other sections where you don't put the commas in the dollars?
Yes, good point. Good point. Yeah, don't use commas when you're entering numbers in GMS. It will automatically insert them for you. You can put in the decimal point, but don't put in any commas. Otherwise, you'll get a red warning sign up here, and it tends to not be very descriptive. So it tells you something's wrong, but it doesn't always tell you exactly what it is. So sometimes those messages aren't super useful. So just know that you don't enter any commas. Thank you, Jim. That's a good point. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right. Again, thanks, Brian, for letting me emulate CivicCore. So let's look at the budget workbook. One of your required documents. It is pretty much the same as last year. Thanks to Yoli for coming back from leave and getting this done. Otherwise, you would have had my version of the budget workbook, which had a lot of issues when I was developing it. So I'm really grateful that Yoli's back and taking this back over. So I'll start down here. There are different tabs down here, and there's an instruction tab, which is really handy. So this will tell you what to do on each of the other tabs. And so it describes budget adjustments and budget modifications, and gives you other instructions. The only tab I'm going to go over today is the budget tab. We'll talk about, well, I'll look at this one too. So there's a point to be made on this one. But the invoice tab will go over in the admin webinar later in the summer. So you're going to enter your budget here. And again, this year, we are only asking for totals by category, okay? Or some totals by category. So you're going to put in your staff wage amounts, your core member wage amounts, and your taxes and benefits and so forth. So we're not asking for line items. Again, these line items are not for you to put in line items. These are for budget modifications, okay? So just your totals by category, and then of course we've got some breakdown in personnel, and we do that mostly because we're trying to calculate that limit, that cap on personnel, and if we don't have this broken out, then we can't subtract out workers' comp. So that's largely why we do that. We do ask for a description over here. So with personnel, it's going to be a fairly simple summary statement of who you're hiring over here, what positions you're hiring under that. Workers' comp is workers' comp. Where we really need some careful detail is in equipment and operating costs. So for equipment, we need you to identify any capital expenditures that you're asking to be approved in your budget. So if you're buying a vehicle, put in planning to buy a 24-foot box truck, whatever it is. So you want to specify that. We also, in operating costs, since that includes travel, vehicles are under operating costs. So, sorry, capital expenditure for equipment might be you're buying a whole new sorting line or something like that, something greater than $5,000. Operating costs, so you're going to talk about your facilities and vehicles and contracts and services.
Derek,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Actually, under equipment goes the vehicles, and the vehicle under operating costs is actually the operating costs for the vehicles.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Who's that? Who is that smart person?
This is Carl.
Oh, thank you, Carl. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. Thanks. Okay. So the purchase of vehicles, we're putting in equipment. Okay, good. So this is vehicle maintenance, leases, things like that down here, I guess. All right. Good, good. So one thing I want to point out and not forget to point out is that if you are planning out-of-state travel, that you need to include that in your budget. And I think you could put it either under operating costs or contracts and services. I think under operating costs is better, but just be sure that if you're going to the conference in DC, for example, and you want permission to spend money on that, we need to pre-approve out-of-state travel as usual. And so if by putting that into your budget, we approve your budget, that travel is approved. So then you don't have to do a separate request later on. So one thing on contracts and services that I would just remind you as you're ending your fiscal year, and I don't know if any of your contracts are coming to a close and you're needing to renew those, that if you have a contract that's going to be charging more than $5,000 to the grant, and you're renewing, you're signing a new contract, you need to get bids and quotes for that. Make sure you follow that through. If you just have an ongoing service contract, you don't need to do that. But if it's, okay, we're at the end of a 3-year copy lease contract and we're renewing that, then we need to go out and get bids from various vendors to get a new contract in place. All right. And indirect costs, please just in your description, just say whether you're using a cap or an FICR down here. And if you're using an FICR, just put in the applicable percentages that permits you to charge. Okay. Now, any other questions or points of importance on the budget workbook from anyone? Yes.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to give a quick reminder to please be sure to enter in whole numbers into the budget tab of the budget workbook. Please do not use decimals. Using decimals messes with the calculation on the invoice tab, and as you know, the budget workbook does not always match up with GMS. So it is important to use whole numbers and to please not input decimals. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Yoli. So please use whole dollar amounts. Okay, and the other thing I did want to point out is that these amounts are not up to date. We will be updating this document and uploading a new one to the to GMS for download, but these are what's in there at this moment. And so if you've already downloaded this and you've started working on it using the new budget totals that we've provided, that's fine. You're not going to be asked to start over again because this page is out of date. So don't worry about that. That question came up earlier. So go ahead and continue doing what you're doing if you've already started your budget workbook. All right, now I got to get back to my all right, so if you're new, welcome. You will need a web pass to get into GMS, and so you'll need to go to our web pass page and create an account, and it's not hard to do. It doesn't cost anything, and once you have an account, then you can be added as a contact and have access. One word of caution to everybody, again, I've told you this before, or we have, that if somebody is granted access to the grant, they have the ability to change things in the grant as well in GMS. So it's wise if somebody leaves your organization to delete their contact. That removes their access automatically. So don't leave it hanging. Okay, we did all that. All right, so I gotta jump ahead here, sorry. I decided this live view is better and got behind on my own presentation. We'll send this back to slideshow. There we go. Okay, your grant project summary document has not changed. That's another required document for your application. The purpose is just evidence of adequate planning. Oops. Evidence of adequate planning, high performance, measurable outcomes are identified, and so forth. So it's a useful document for us to see and to be able to explain to executives and the public what you're doing. So, oh, I didn't update that, did I? This is RLC40. So your format is the same. You're going to provide an objective. You're going to provide key activities and some specifics about those. And then you're going to report on your key activities in your quarterly reports. So you'll put a summary of those in each quarter for the year, fiscal year 25-26. So as usual, we are going to harangue you about writing smart objectives. So this is not something we came up with. This is a very common standard applied to grant objectives and goals. You'll see a lot of motivational speakers using this format too, because it's a good standard format. So each objective has to be specific. It has to be measurable, so it has to be specific numbers that show what kind of growth you're expecting to achieve. It has to be achievable, so we're looking at reasonableness, realistic, so the level of change is attainable within the time frame that you're providing. So it's important that the time-bound piece is not too open-ended. It's not ongoing. Ongoing is not a time frame. So ABC Conservation Corps will increase e-waste collection from a baseline of 225,000 pounds in this fiscal year to 300,000 pounds through the addition of 3 curbside collections and 15 special events during fiscal year 25-26 as measured by collection logs and CWIS reports. So this objective is designed to be smart. You'll see that the order of this acronym is not followed exactly in here. It depends on how you write your objective. But I like to end my objectives when I was writing grants with as measured by. If you'll add that to all your objectives, then you'll never miss the measurement part. You'll always have the M in there at least. So always ask yourself, how am I going to measure this objective? How am I going to know that I achieved it? So key activity examples, these are just some brief ones. I won't go through them with you, but the main thing to remember about an activity is it is something you're going to do to help you achieve your objective. So sometimes people mix up activities and objectives, and you'll get a note back from us saying, this objective is not really an objective, it's really an activity. And so learning to write good objectives is kind of an art form. So you may get some feedback from us on that. Timelines add accountability and increase your ability to evaluate the implementation process. So the main thing that we don't want to see is ongoing. If something's ongoing, what does that mean? It's ongoing daily, it's ongoing weekly, monthly, quarterly. Let's be a little bit more specific than ongoing. Outcomes are deliverables. So what is it that you're delivering as a result of this activity? So is it an activity to set up 15 events? Then your deliverable is 15 events. So that is something that's concrete and measurable, and progress toward your achievement of the outcomes is what you're reporting. So if your outcome is 15 events, then at the end of quarter one, you'll say, well, we did 3 in quarter one. And then you're partway toward achieving your objective of 15. So there are some basic examples of material or of outcomes, increases in material collection, the number of something like outreach events, dock walkers, core member training, etc., or is it something that you're producing? Is that your outcome? A training manual. You're developing an MOU with a jurisdiction, something like that.
So Derek, I have a quick question.
Sure.
That example you just used for like, so I don't know if that was the objective or activity. I'm probably the worst at understanding the difference. But if your objective was, hey, do 15 events, what would the timeline be for that? Wouldn't it? You're taking away my ongoing. I feel vulnerable.
So your timeline would
Like,
probably be your fiscal year. So by the end of the fiscal year 25-26, we will implement
I've completed
15
that.
events. Yeah,
Okay, got you. Thank you very much. That helps.
sure. Okay. You feel less vulnerable now?
Less vulnerable.
Oh, good.
My
good.
anxiety has gone down. Thank
Oh,
you.
I've done my job. Thank you. All right. Okay, so here's an example. This is just an example for you to look at. And again, I'll PDF this presentation and send it out. And also, as long as I didn't mess up the recording, which I may have, this will be online. Okay, budget development is really brief because I do not pretend to lecture you on how to develop your budget. You guys are the experts on that, and so I'm sure that you're very capable. The main thing is please do review the procedures and requirements about eligible and ineligible activity. Make sure that you're dialed in there, and just no core is required to apply for 100% of the funding. If you don't need it, don't apply for it.
Derek?
So that others could get it. Yes.
Before we move away from the objectives and everything, I just wanted to give sort of a parallel example that may help everybody frame this up.
Sure.
Let's say as a core, you were hiring a contractor to come in and do work, and you have a bid. So they're going to list on that bid what it is they're going to do, the time frame they're going to complete it, and what the outcomes are. So your grant project summary is without it actually being a formal contract, it's your agreement with CalRecycle to say this is what this core is going to do. And here's what we're proposing. This is our objectives. These are the key activities. And then this is when we're going to complete it. So it's kind of like having a contract. You're basically doing what you would hire a contractor to do. And which plays into if you have a change in your work order or your scope of work, then you would something happen where you need to add or take something out, then this document also needs to be changed to do what's called a grant project summary modification.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Okay, fund swaps are permitted in RLC40. So if you want to swap funds again this year or for the first time, you may. Funds do not need to be swapped dollar for dollar. So if you really want one kind of fund from someone else and they want to do a modified swap of some kind and you agree to it, that's okay with us. You do need to execute an MOU between the two cores doing the swap that document the terms of the swap, and it needs to be submitted with your application and should be reflected in your budget that you submit to us. Swaps made in RLC39 do not automatically apply to RLC40. It requires a new MOU. So please do that if you plan to swap any funds. Okay, we've gone over the budget workbook. So we'll talk a little bit about advanced request guidance. And I'll remind you again that there is an advanced guidance document in the resources on the summary tab in GMS for you to download. It has examples of the advanced a request letter at the end of that document, and it gives you some helpful guidance in preparing that package for us. So your advance package documents need to be uploaded with the application by the application due date. Again, you need to check that box that you will be taking an advance in GMS. And I don't know if this is still current. Yoli, is there a box to check in the budget workbook? There is. Okay, thank you. So it is still current. So you'll mark that in your budget workbook as well. So it is a package that you're submitting to us that doesn't just go through our grant managers for review. The documentation for an advance goes through our fiscal project oversight group. It goes through our budgets division, and then it goes from them to the Department of Finance for approval. So there's a lot of levels of approval for this, so it really needs to be dialed in and extremely accurate. And you guys have been doing a great job on that, and it's very much appreciated. So the advance amounts were also adjusted on that second email I sent out that removed San Francisco from the budget distribution. So you may use those in your advance request. So these are the components of your advance request package. You write an advance justification letter. Again, in the guidance doc, there's a couple examples. You're going to provide some supporting documents, including proof of nonprofit status, so that letter from the IRS that documents your 501c3 status. Your 2 cash flow analyses documents, 2 separate ones, one with the advance for each funding source and one without the advance. Now remember, for some reason, this is not new, you need to show that that advance is repaid in that analysis by the end of the fiscal year. So even though it's a 2-year grant, they've always asked for us to show it that way. So you're going to provide 2 financial analyses that shows your entire organizational budget, not just the grant funds, and one with, one without. So the other thing you need to provide is your most current external audit report. That will go along with the package to DOF. Okay. Any questions on advances? Okay. So the review process is primarily done by fiscal process oversight and our grant management staff. So the first primary review is done by FPO, and then the grant manager is alerted to go ahead and review. So you may hear from FPO if there's something missing, if like your resolution is not acceptable or something, you may hear from them or your grant manager. But there are 2 levels of review before your grant application is approved. Revisions to your budget spreadsheet, budget workbook, or grant project summary may be requested by your grant manager. And the grant managers will review all the advance request packages and be in touch if there's any revisions or additional documentation. Prompt responses are appreciated, and that helps us just get our award request for approval finished and to the public meeting faster. So reminders, your current grant manager in RLC39 is going to be your grant manager in RLC40. So the people you know now and are working with, they will also be your grant manager for the next cycle. So you can contact throughout the application process, you can contact your grant manager for general program related questions. And if you need technical assistance with GMS, then you would contact Dimitri, who is our fiscal process oversight contact. And he is a real expert with GMS, and he can help you with any glitches in the system. And his phone number and email are there for you. And again, the application due date is April 17th. So that is the end of my presentation this morning. I hope it wasn't too disjointed and all over the map. But anyway, nothing too different and nothing too challenging. Any other questions before we wrap for today? Hey, I'm not seeing any in the chat. Brian had to sign off soon. I guess that's it. So thanks everybody who attended today. Good luck with your application. Let us know if you need help, and we'll look forward to a great cycle, and we'll see you at the opening webinar sometime this summer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Derek.
Thank you, Derek.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys.